Okie doke. Let's get this in the backyard.
Hi, welcome to Power to the Flower. Thanks for joining me today. So as you saw in this video, this is the very beginnings of a landscape project that I had the opportunity to complete. And I love how it turned out. So I hope you enjoy watching this with me. The purpose of this video is to share with you how I kind of came up with the landscape design for this project, as well as the process of doing the project. I designed and planted this project completely on my own, except for one small hiccup that I ran into, in which I was FaceTiming my father in Virginia and he was helping me. But outside of that, this is a project that I was able to complete on my own, and I consider myself just a regular woman, and I hope that this video serves as an inspiration for you, that you too can do this. So the process here was design all the way through planting, and I even maintain it at this point, so I can share with you the follow-on pictures. So as you can see from this video, the slate was pretty blank. This is a downtown Walnut Creek home. This is a family who has dogs and kids, and they didn't spend really any time in the backyard at that point because it just really didn't look that good and seemed extremely small and frankly kind of useless. She came to me and said, can you please make this house beautiful for resale value, actually, because one day they're going to sell it and they want to have a nice yard. And my goal then was to make it beautiful and attractive to them so that they would love their own outdoor space and want to spend time out there. So that was my non-secret plan the whole time, which I have to say, I think we succeeded at both of our goals. So this video starts with kind of the blank slate and the cleanup as I was getting ready to plant. So the backstory of this video is that the client and I are friends, and when she saw that I started Power to the Flower, she contacted me immediately and said, this is awesome, come and do my backyard. So she really took a risk on me because I hadn't actually done any large landscaping at that point. And I think that's the reason why I want to share this video with you, because if I can do this, you can do this. So it's not because this video is like the most amazing, the most efficient, the best way forward. No, it's just like me doing the thing that I love, and I hope that that's something that you too will be inspired by and go out and do yourself. So I designed this yard from the beginning with the idea of something trailing over that huge wall. There were a few requirements that we both had as we went in. Number one, nothing poisonous, because she has dogs and kids, and so she didn't want to have to worry about that. Number two, she really wanted it to be the most low maintenance possible, because at that time she never went out there, so she didn't want to have to suddenly add that into the schedule. Number three, she didn't want any sorts of blooms or like leaves dropping in that back space and then having to again maintain it. So what was the last one? I mean, the main thing was just it had to be really low maintenance. Now, when you put in plants, they do require some maintenance, so you can't say no maintenance, but low maintenance is where we were going. We started with a succulent plan using all succulents and cactuses, but in the end we scratched that because it didn't bring the feeling that we were both going for back there. We wanted it to be modern, which succulents often can bring that modern vibe, but we also wanted it to be soft because it is quite a modern space, and that wall has such straight, firm lines, and it's so big back there. I think it spans up to 12 feet tall on one side and about 10 feet tall on the other side. We needed something to soften the space, so we went away from the succulent planting and towards perennials and evergreens. So one of the first things that I needed to do with this project is get water from down below up to the top of the wall, and that was actually the trickiest part of the whole thing, because I thought there already was water on the top of the wall. When I had come over to check everything out, there was a little box that had a water picture on it. But in fact, when I actually got there on the day and opened it up and dug in there, it was connected to nothing. So what I ended up doing was finding that there was a water pipe down below next to the air conditioning unit. I just needed to extend it over the top of the wall. And so once I figured that out, it was very straightforward. I just got some PVC from Home Depot, and then I used solvent welding primer and glue, purple glue I think it's called, and you just stick that together. It's very straightforward. I was able to attach all of that and then later attach with a little bracket to the fence and spray paint the whole thing black. I think my top tip of this process would be get black tubing from the beginning. Don't get white. I wish I had, they have black tubing at Home Depot, but I didn't know. So again, it's a learning experience, but it ended up working out fine once it was painted, no problem. Once the water was up to the top of the wall, then what needed to happen was to run the drip tubing around the top of the wall, and then once the plants were planted, I just needed to run 1/4 inch drip tubing to each of the plants. As for planting, with all of the trees and plants, I used EB Stone starter fertilizer to kind of just get those roots going once they were in the ground. What I decided to do in the design was to just have repeating patterns. So what I ended up deciding on were 3 Skylark multi-trunking olive trees. These are virtually fruitless. They are evergreen, they love heat, they love sun, they can handle the clay soil that our area deals with, and they grow about 8 to 10 feet wide and tall. So they can be just over the top of that fence on top of that wall, or they could be trimmed once a year and kind of kept a little bit smaller. So either way would work, and you would only need to get up on top of that wall to trim them once a year. I also used lemon lime nandinas. These nandinas are great plants, especially for our area, desert climate. They really handle the heat and the sun well, and they're also evergreen. These ones have the kind of lime new growth that grows on the top and edges, and I thought that that would be a fun vibe to throw off against the silver foliage of the olive trees. The other kind of important foundational plants that I used were limelight hydrangeas, and I used 2 at the corners of the wall as well as 1 in the pot below. So I tried to bring the hydrangea down to the bottom area. I tried to bring the nandina down to the bottom area, both of those in pots. And then I also brought one of the trees down to the bottom area in that kind of corner planter. So my idea was to kind of bring it all together by repeating the patterns over and over again. And that also kind of brings that modern vibe back, I thought, because it's simple but at the same time diverse in the foliage that I was offering. I also used Moroccan daisies. These again are good for the hot climate and the desert area. They can also handle all types of soil, and they're evergreen base with perennial white daisy flowers that bloom in the wintertime. So that's super fun. So the lemon lime nandina was matched with the creeping Jenny, that same sort of yellow lime color that I used as a ground cover in that corner base, spotted in with the black mondo grass, which eventually will totally pop against that lime green color. The Moroccan daisies were the repeat of the silver color that you get from the olive trees. That's why I brought those in. They also have the white blooms that I was looking for, and those will need to be deadheaded, so we'll have to see how that kind of works on the top wall. Eventually, they might get pulled out, but I thought that they would work for now, like for the first few years. I felt it was very important to bring something over the edge of that wall to soften it. And in the end, what I decided on was Dichondra Silver Falls, which is one of my favorite plants, and I think it worked perfectly. The problem was that this project started before COVID. It had to take a pause for a while, and then we resumed. And once we resumed and we were able to work again, Dichondra Silver Falls, something had happened in our area. There was shipping problems with COVID. There were farmers that had like a disease run through, so like a whole crop was gone, and so nobody had it anywhere around. So I was struggling to find Dichondra Silver Falls, and usually I buy it in 4-inch or 1-gallon sizes, and that's what I had imagined up there. But in the end, I just happened to find it one day at the nursery. Little teeny tiny 6-packs, like little teeny plugs, and I just grabbed all of them. I ended up planting, I think, like 20 or 25 little teeny tiny plugs on the edge of that wall. You couldn't see it at all. And wait till you see the pictures today.
Yay! Look at that dichondra flowing over the side of the wall, as well as growing up the back of the wall and becoming the ground cover that I had hoped that it would. So here we have our final demonstration of the design and what happens when you plant and they grow. The limelight hydrangeas were looking great. They're starting to turn their fall pink. And there is a pot out of the 3 pots. The one in the very front is filled with annuals. So that's super fun because I'll be able to change that one out seasonally for my client. Almost everything else in this yard is an evergreen except for the hydrangeas, which are perennials, and they will need a yearly prune. And the dichondra, which it depends on how cold it gets in our winters, which vary. It can be an evergreen, otherwise it's a perennial.
So at the end of the day, I think myself and my client were really happy with the way things turned out, and I'm just so excited to be able to share this with you. Hopefully you walk away from this video and think, man, that girl did that, so can I. And that's the entire point of this video. You can. Thank you so much for joining Power to the Flower. You can always catch my videos on Fridays and Tuesdays on Facebook or on my YouTube channel. All right, see you next time. Bye.